Welcome back. As part of the Think Cloud initiative, we have identified 5 paradigms that would help us in designing cloud centric systems. In this part of the series, we will talk about the second paradigm, decoupling the data. Before we jump into the data, let us see why loose coupling is important. There are 3 principles of microservice. The first one is single purpose. Without single purpose, if we are building multiple services, they end up being multiple monoliths. So we will not get the full benefit of microservices. The second is high cohesion. Without high cohesion, we will end up having different services which are dependent and are frequently changing. They have to be shipped together, though they are loosely coupled. The last one is loosely coupled principle. Without loosely coupling, changes to one service will impact other, so we cannot ship changes fast and safely. Let's dig into loosely coupling a little deeper. How do you split a monolith into different services so that they are loosely coupled? This can be done based on 3 things: business capability, verbs, nouns. What is business capability? Consider the e-commerce application. There may be different business capability like product catalog management, inventory management, order management, and delivery management. In one approach, each of these could become a service in itself. Each of them will have their own database, and it will be somewhat similar to the diagram which is shown on the screen now. The other approach to decoupling is using the verbs. The verbs are defined from use case or workflow of your application. They define an action. In effect, each service in a verb based decoupling defines an action. What's an example? Taking the same e commerce application, a billing service can be taken as an example of a service made using a verb. In this case, the billing service manages all the billing related actions of the application. The next approach which we can take to decouple services is based on the nouns. What do we mean by nouns? Nouns are the different resources or entities of your application. A service which is responsible for all operations which happen on a resource or entity is a model which you would look for if you are using nouns. A good example for account for this is account service in an e-commerce application. Account service would manage all the user accounts and the operations related to the user accounts, like setting the roles, giving the authentication, and so forth. So, what did we learn so far? We saw what are the 3 principles of microservices: single purpose, high cohesion, loose coupling. We saw why loose coupling is important to building a microservice architecture. We saw how many different ways can you decouple a monolith and how each of them makes sense using an example of an e-commerce application. Just to reiterate, the 3 different ways which we saw was decoupling using business capability, decoupling using verbs, decoupling using nouns. That's all for now. Keep thinking cloud. Get back to us if you have any feedback or comments. Thank you.